Okay, so we're diving into the intimacy blueprint, strengthening your relationship through better sex. Pretty catchy title, right?
It is.
But I think if you're listening to this deep dive, you probably already know that intimacy is about way more than just the physical stuff, right?
Right.
So today, we're going to unpack what this book has to offer, kind of get a blueprint, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, the book, really sort of lives up to its name in that it goes way beyond just the bedroom.
Okay.
It's about this feeling of being truly seen, heard, and valued
Mm,
by your partner.
I like that.
Yeah, and this idea of connection that goes, much, much deeper than just the physical.
Yeah, and it actually lays it out like a literal blueprint.
It does, yeah.
Like it uses this framework of emotional, mental, and physical intimacy.
That's right. And it really sort of emphasizes that they all work together.
Yeah, it's not just about one, it's all of them together.
Yeah.
Okay, so like a three-legged stool, you need all of them to make it work.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Think of it like a three-legged stool, right?
Okay.
You need all three legs for to stand strong. You need that emotional closeness, that mental stimulation, and the physical connection.
Okay, so that makes total sense. But the book doesn't treat all of those three equally, does it?
You're right. It doesn't, and that's one of the most interesting things I think that the book does, is it places emotional intimacy as the foundation. And argues that without that deep emotional connection, you're unlikely to have really satisfying sexual intimacy. Think back to a time you felt really connected to your partner.
Oh, yeah.
What made that connection so special?
That's so true. So it makes sense that the stronger the emotional bond is, the more fulfilling the physical side is going to be as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But so how do we actually build that emotional intimacy?
Right.
Does the book give like any specific advice?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And, not surprisingly, communication is key. It stresses this open and honest communication, even maybe especially when it comes to potentially awkward topics.
Yeah, okay.
We're talking about desires, boundaries, what you like, what you dislike in the bedroom, all of it.
Okay. So that makes sense, but I imagine that could be kind of intimidating to like bring up these sensitive topics.
Sure.
I mean, even in the closest relationships, like there's always that fear of being judged or rejected.
Of course, yeah. And you've hit on, really important point. And the book actually addresses this head on.
Yeah.
They talk about creating this safe space for these conversations.
Oh, okay.
It's about fostering an environment where both partners feel comfortable sharing their deepest desires, their vulnerabilities, without fear of judgment.
So it's not just what you say, but how you say it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it gives specific techniques for, effective communication, things like active listening, which means truly focusing on what your partner is saying, not just waiting for your turn to speak,
Right.
or using I statements to express your feelings without blaming your partner.
Right.
So,
So instead of saying like, you never listened to me,
right, exactly.
which can put someone on the defensive. You can say, I feel unheard when I'm trying to share my feelings with you. Like it shifts the focus to your experience without attacking the other person.
Exactly. And the book stresses that you have to be specific. It's not enough to just say, I don't like that.
Yeah.
You need to explain why you don't like it and what you would prefer instead.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you're giving your partner like actionable feedback that they can actually use.
Okay, so it's like giving them a roadmap
Exactly.
instead of just vaguely pointing them in a direction. I like that. Okay, so even with, great communication skills, wouldn't you agree that trust is essential
Oh, absolutely.
for true intimacy? Like you have to feel safe being vulnerable with your partner.
Yeah, absolutely. The book makes it clear that trust is the bedrock of any truly intimate relationship.
Makes sense.
It allows for that vulnerability for exploration. In fact, one of the key takeaways is that partners with a high level of trust are more likely to share their fantasies, experiment sexually, and generally just feel more comfortable exploring different sides of their sexuality.
That makes total sense. So
Yeah.
how do you actually build that trust?
Right.
Is it something that just happens over time, or are there things that we can do to sort of cultivate it?
That's a great question. And, again, the book offers some really practical advice here. It emphasizes that trust is built through consistent actions, not just words. Think about it. What are some everyday ways you build trust with your partner?
I would say being reliable, like doing what you say you're going to do,
Yeah,
showing up when you're needed, little things like that.
exactly. And all those small everyday actions demonstrate your commitment, your reliability. It's about proving to your partner that they can count on you, both in big ways and small.
So we've got this foundation of emotional intimacy built on open communication and trust.
Right.
What's next on the intimacy blueprint?
Okay, so you want to know how to spice things up in the bedroom.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of where things start to get fun.
Yeah, that's right. And remember, the book isn't about forcing anyone to do anything they're not comfortable with, right?
Mm.
It's about exploration, playfulness, and, understanding what truly turns both partners on.
Yeah.
But you are right. This is kind of where it moves into the more physical aspects of intimacy.
Okay.
And one of the main points the book makes is that even in a long-term relationship, you shouldn't let things get stale,
Right.
right? And so that's where things can get fun.
So how do you do that?
Well, the book encourages couples to try new things, to experiment with different forms of touch, and really to focus on being present during those intimate moments,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I'm guessing that means putting the phone away, huh?
Definitely. Definitely. The authors talk a lot about the importance of mindful intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being fully engaged in the experience with all of your senses, not just going through the motions.
Right.
And, the book also encourages you to think outside the box.
Mm.
Get creative. What are your partner's unique
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
and desires, right?
Yeah.
How can you tailor that experience to make it truly pleasurable for both of you?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a fun challenge.
It is.
Figuring out how to keep things exciting and fresh, even after you've been together for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. But, let's be realistic for a second.
Sure.
Real life isn't always like a romantic comedy.
Yeah, that's true.
There's going to be times when stress, conflicts, or, even health issues get in the way.
Yeah,
Does the book address those challenges at all?
it absolutely does. The authors, they acknowledge that real life throws curveballs,
Mm.
right? And they actually dedicate a whole section to overcoming obstacles to intimacy.
Okay.
And they emphasize the importance of self-care,
Right.
taking care of your physical and mental well-being
Yeah.
as a foundation for a healthy relationship.
That makes total sense. You can't pour from an empty cup. So it's about, prioritizing exercise, sleep, and healthy eating.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the physical stuff.
Wrong.
Managing stress, addressing mental health concerns.
Right.
The book actually suggests that couples consider seeking professional help if they're struggling to overcome these challenges on their own.
Yeah, that's so important. There's still so much stigma around, going to therapy, but it can be incredibly helpful for individuals and couples.
Absolutely.
It's like having a coach in your corner,
Yes.
guiding you through and helping you come out stronger.
I couldn't agree more. And I think the book really normalizes that, which is so valuable.
Okay, so we've talked about emotional intimacy, communication, trust.
Right.
We even talked about overcoming challenges.
Yeah.
But what about desire itself?
Right.
It's not a constant thing, is it?
No, it's not.
Some days you're feeling it, some days you're not. How does the book address that, fluctuating nature of desire?
That's a great question. You're right, desire ebbs and flows. One of the key points in the book is that you need to understand your own needs and be open to exploring them with your partner.
Oh.
What are your fantasies? What gets you
Oh.
going, right?
Yeah,
And, that could be a tough conversation to have.
I was going to say that could be a tough one.
It can be. But the book emphasizes that, again, communication, respect, and consent are absolutely essential when it comes to exploring desires and fantasies.
So I imagine it takes a lot of courage to kind of be that open and vulnerable.
It does.
Does the book offer any tips for making that easier?
Yeah, it does. One suggestion is to start small, right? So
Yeah.
maybe, instead of launching into, a detailed description of your wildest fantasies, maybe share a movie scene that you found particularly arousing or
Wow.
talk about a dream you had,
Okay.
right? The idea is to gradually build up that level of comfort and trust.
So taking baby steps
Exactly.
and creating this playful, non-judgmental atmosphere.
Exactly. Exactly. And, it's okay to laugh.
Yeah, I was going to say humor always helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A little bit of humor can go a long way in kind of diffusing any awkwardness.
Okay, so we've covered emotional intimacy, communication, trust, overcoming challenges, and even exploring desires.
Right.
Is there anything else we should know about this intimacy blueprint?
Well, there's one more piece to the puzzle that we haven't talked about yet,
Okay.
and it's something that might surprise you.
Okay, hit me.
The importance of physical and mental health.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's important in general, but how does that play into intimacy?
Well, the book argues that physical and mental health are integral parts of the intimacy blueprint.
Huh.
Things like exercise, diet, and sleep
Okay.
can have a huge impact on your libido,
Right.
your overall well-being.
Right.
And of course, that in turn affects your ability to connect with your partner.
So it's that whole thing of you can't pour from an empty cup. You
Exact.
have to take care of yourself
Yeah,
before you can show up for somebody else.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the physical health, right?
Yeah.
The book highlights managing stress, addressing mental health concerns, seeking professional help if needed. It emphasizes that taking care of your overall well-being is a fundamental part of building a healthy and intimate relationship.
So I love that this book takes this like holistic approach to intimacy. It's not just about, the bedroom.
It's not.
It's about how you take care of yourself,
Right.
how you communicate with your partner, how you build trust, that emotional connection.
Yeah,
It really is like a blueprint for building this fulfilling relationship.
it is. And, it's a blueprint that adapts to each couple's unique needs and desires.
Right.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach, which I think is refreshing.
I love that. That's a perfect segue into our next part of the discussion.
Did-
Because we've laid the groundwork now.
Mhm.
Let's dive a little deeper into the specific advice and techniques that the Intimacy Blueprint offers for building a truly satisfying and lasting connection.
One of the things that really stood out to me in the Intimacy Blueprint was this emphasis on long-term love.
Okay.
Like, it's easy to get caught up in that, initial excitement of a relationship, the honeymoon phase.
Right.
But how do we keep that spark alive as time goes on? Especially when, life gets busy, routines set in.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
It is. It is.
Especially for those of us who've been in long-term relationships.
Exactly.
Does the book offer any, practical advice for that?
It does. It does. One of the things they suggest is scheduling regular date nights,
Okay.
which I know might seem a little forced at first,
Yeah.
but the authors argue that intentionally carving out that time for connection is crucial,
Okay.
even if it's just for an hour or two a week.
Yeah, it's like putting it on the calendar,
Exactly.
making it a priority, right?
Exactly. Making it non-negotiable.
So you don't, let it slip through the cracks.
Exactly.
Because life gets busy, you forget.
It does. It does.
Okay, I like that.
And, date nights don't have to be fancy or expensive.
Right.
It's really just about creating that opportunity to reconnect, have fun together.
Yeah.
Step outside of those routines.
Yeah, and sometimes, just like getting out of the house can make a big difference,
Right.
even if you're just like going for a walk.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so it's being intentional.
Yeah.
Finding ways to inject that little like novelty back into the relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not just about having fun together,
Okay.
The book also emphasizes, staying curious about each other.
Okay.
As individuals, we're constantly evolving and growing.
Right.
And our partners are no different.
Right.
So it's crucial to, stay attuned to those changes.
Okay.
To be open to learning new things about the person we love, even after years of being together.
That's so true. It's so easy to fall into that trap of thinking like, oh, I know everything about you,
Exactly.
especially after you've been with someone for a long time.
Yeah.
But people change and relationships evolve.
Right, right.
So how does the book say we do that?
Well, one of the key things is asking questions,
Okay.
really listening to the answers.
Okay.
Don't just go through the motions of conversation, but make an effort to truly understand your partner's thoughts, feelings, experiences.
Yeah, like be a good listener.
Exactly.
Not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Right.
Like actually trying to engage with what they're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's not just about listening to the words.
Oh.
Pay
yeah.
attention to the nonverbals. Right.
Body language.
Body language,
Okay.
tone of voice,
Okay.
facial expressions, all of that can give us valuable insights into how they're feeling, what they're trying to communicate.
It sounds like a lot of work
It is. It is.
to stay really connected,
Yeah,
especially as time goes on and
Right.
life gets busy.
it does. We get
Yeah.
set in our ways.
But, the authors argue that it's an effort worth making, right? They point out that relationships that lack that ongoing curiosity, that attention.
They tend to stagnate.
Right. Yeah.
Partners drift apart, communication breaks down, intimacy fades.
So it's being proactive, making a conscious choice
Exactly.
to keep that connection strong.
Yes. Yes. And it doesn't have to be complicated.
Okay.
The book suggests simple things like expressing gratitude,
See.
acknowledging your partner's efforts, showing appreciation for the things that they do.
Oh, yeah, those little things go a long way.
They do. They do.
A simple, thank you
Exactly.
can really make someone's day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so we talked about scheduling date nights,
Yeah.
staying curious,
Yeah.
expressing gratitude.
Yes.
What else does the Intimacy Blueprint suggest for, maintaining this long-term love?
Well, it acknowledges that relationships go through phases, right?
Right.
And it emphasizes this importance of adaptability.
Right.
Life throws curveballs.
It does.
We have kids, career changes, aging parents, even just the natural ups and downs of life.
Right.
All of that impacts a relationship.
Mhm.
The key is being able to navigate those transitions together,
Okay.
to be flexible, understanding,
Yeah.
and to support each other through those, through thick and thin.
It takes communication and a willingness to compromise,
It does. It does.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Does the book give any advice on like how to have those conversations
It does.
to make sure that both partners feel, heard and understood?
Yeah, one of the techniques they recommend is creating this sort of we're in this together mentality.
Okay.
So instead of viewing those challenges as something you have to overcome individually,
Right.
it's about framing them as shared obstacles that you're facing as a team.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
It shifts it from like me versus you
Exactly.
to us against the problem.
Exactly. And it creates this sense of unity, shared purpose,
Yeah.
which can be so helpful in navigating those tough times.
And it's reassuring,
It is.
because when you're going through something tough, it can be really easy to feel alone,
Absolutely.
isolated,
Yep.
and overwhelmed.
And just to know that you've got someone in your corner
Right.
can make all the difference.
Yeah. And it's not just about offering like practical support,
Right.
but, being emotionally supportive.
Yeah, being there to listen,
Yeah.
offer a shoulder to cry on, to validate your partner's feelings.
Yeah.
All of that can be just as important as any practical solution.
So it sounds like the book is really about creating this strong foundation for a relationship,
It is.
one that can, withstand all the challenges
Yeah.
that inevitably come up.
That's a great way to put it. It's about building that connection that's strong enough to weather the storms.
Yeah.
Flexible enough to adapt to change.
Right.
Deep enough to provide that sense of security, of belonging, no matter what.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah,
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
we have.
Emotional intimacy, communication, trust, overcoming challenges, exploring desires,
Yeah.
physical, mental health, even that long-term maintenance of love.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there anything we missed?
Mm.
Any other key takeaways from the intimacy blueprint that we should touch on?
There is one final point that I think is worth emphasizing.
Okay.
The book argues that ultimately a fulfilling sex life and overall relationship happiness are intertwined.
Okay.
They feed into each other,
Yeah.
creating this positive feedback loop.
Makes sense. It's hard to be physically intimate with someone when you're feeling resentful or disconnected in other areas of the relationship.
Exactly, exactly.
It's all connected.
It is.
Okay.
And the reverse is also true, right?
Oh, okay.
When you have that healthy and fulfilling sex life, it can actually strengthen emotional bonds
Yeah.
and increase overall satisfaction in the relationship.
Bonjour.
It's not about the frequency or the intensity of the sex.
Right.
It's about the quality of that connection,
Okay.
the feeling of being seen, heard, desired by your partner.
And that feeling of being desired can be expressed in so many ways, right?
It can.
It's not always about like the grand gestures or the seduction techniques. Like, sometimes it's just like a look
Yeah,
or a touch or a compliment.
right.
It's
yeah,
those small everyday moments that
Yeah.
can really make a difference.
absolutely.
Okay.
It's about those little acts of kindness, affection that say,
Yes.
you matter to me. I see you. I cherish you.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I think that really captures the essence of the intimacy blueprint.
It does.
It's about creating a relationship that's not just about the physical act of sex.
Right.
It's about that much deeper, more meaningful connection
Exactly.
that nourishes both partners
Yes,
and helps them thrive both individually and as a couple.
I agree. I agree.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive into the intimacy blueprint.
I agree.
So, this book is packed with so much more
It is.
than what we could cover here today.
Yeah.
But I hope this has given you a good overview
The taste.
of what it's all about. So, if you're feeling inspired to deepen your own intimacy, I highly recommend checking out the book for yourself.
I second that.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I just want to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
What's one small but meaningful step you can take today to nurture intimacy with your partner?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it could be as simple as putting your phone away during dinner and
Yes.
really listening.
Absolutely.
Maybe offering a heartfelt compliment, expressing gratitude for something they do that you often take for granted.
All of those things, yeah.
Yeah.
Those small gestures, they may seem insignificant on their own,
Right.
but they can have a powerful cumulative effect.
Exactly.
It's about making that conscious effort to show your partner you care, you see them, you value their presence in your life.
And that, my friend, is the essence of true intimacy.
It is.
Creating a space where both partners feel safe, seen, and cherished.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about fostering a connection that goes beyond the physical and nourishes the heart and soul.
Yeah.
It's about building a relationship that's not just about surviving, but about thriving together.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that question
Yes.
and take those first steps on your own journey toward deeper intimacy.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep. Yeah, and speaking of thriving, I think one of the things that we often forget is that intimacy is not a destination.
It's not. It's a journey.
Yeah,
It's something that we're always working on, always growing.
it's a process.
Exactly.
So I love that this book really emphasizes that.
Yeah, and it gives you the tools
It does.
to navigate that journey
Right.
and, to make it as fulfilling and as joyful as possible.
Totally.
So, yeah, I'm with you. I think that's a great place to kind of wrap up our exploration of the intimacy blueprint.
Yeah,
It's been a really rich conversation.
it has. It has. And I know I've said it before, but this book is packed with even more
Oh, so much more.
than what we could cover here.
It's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, so if you're feeling inspired to maybe deepen your own intimacy,
Yeah.
I highly, highly recommend checking out the Intimacy Blueprint for yourself.
Absolutely.
It's really a valuable resource for anyone who wants to build a stronger, more connected, and ultimately more satisfying relationship.
Couldn't agree more.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this kind of final thought-provoking question.
Yeah, I love a good question.
Yeah, I always like to end with one.
Me too.
So what's one small but meaningful step that you can take today to nurture intimacy with your partner?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and it could be something super simple.
It could.
Like just putting your phone away during dinner
Yeah.
and really listening,
Being present.
being present, yeah.
Bro.
Or offering like a heartfelt compliment,
Oh, I love that.
expressing gratitude
Yeah.
for something they do.
Yeah, that you maybe normally take for granted.
Yeah, yeah.
It's those little things.
Guys.
They might seem small on the surface.
Right.
But they really make a difference.
Yeah,
And it sends a powerful message to your partner
totally, totally.
that you're paying attention, that you care, that you see them.
That you appreciate them.
Yes, and I think ultimately that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
That feeling of being seen, of being appreciated.
And that, my friend, is the essence of true intimacy.
It is beautifully said.
So on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that question
Yeah.
and start taking those first steps on your own journey toward a deeper connection.
Until next time. Keep diving deep.